Am I going to spend an entire video talking about the greatest horror villain of all time? You bet I am.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
We get spooky for Halloween. Welcome to One to Watch. I'm Preston, aka the Ploominator, and I'm celebrating one of the definitive horror movie icons of all time by exploring how playing up the camp can ultimately produce the horror. See, there are a lot of great icons in horror cinema, but many of them lack defined personalities, expressive acting moments, or even in many cases longevity beyond a few films. And while there are definitely horror villains who have broken through those pitfalls, some who've maybe even been around longer, Frankenstein's monster, Phantom of the Opera, villains who have had a more impressive body count like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, and even characters who've left a major impact on pop culture such as Norman Bates or John Kramer, there will just never be another villain like Freddy Krueger as performed by Robert Englund. And why Freddy specifically? Well, because unlike many of the other characters in the genre, he's just transcended the series itself. While only the most diehard fans of that series could probably name most of the victims of the Dream Killer, there are so many people out there who've never even seen a Nightmare on Elm Street film and know who Freddy Krueger is. And while yes, there is a lot of credit owed to the late great Wes Craven for creating Freddy, it's Englund who allows the character to not only succeed in the movie itself, but explode into popular culture. He has done this through a balance of humor and horror that ends up imbuing his character with a personality that stands out and makes the role of Freddy Krueger, when played by Robert Englund, one to watch. Now, I'm only focusing on the first Nightmare on Elm Street film because I don't want to watch 8 movies to write a 10-minute video. I mean, I'll be honest, I'd watch them anyway, but I don't want to put you guys through that nonsense. And also, this is about one specific actor, it's not actually about the character, so it's specifically about Robert Englund's performance. Sorry to all the Jackie Earle Haley fans out there. So when we dive into the pool for the first time, we have to make note of just where the tone of these movies lies, especially with regards to character. A Nightmare on Elm Street is terrifying. The very idea behind them, that sleep is a place of supreme danger where a maniac can wait to kill you in your dreams, is terrifying. But when you finally get a good look at Freddy, it's actually weird because he seems a bit goofy.
Watch this.
And the longer this goes on, the more it seems like something's kind of out of balance. He's not doing the menacing stalking thing of his predecessors, and is instead making jokes and playing with his victims. And that's the key. That's what Robert is doing. See, his intention is most certainly to scare and eventually kill his victims, but the tactics don't line up the same way.
Please, God.
This is God.
And yeah, the lines do contribute to this to some level, but if the remake has shown us anything, it's that sometimes the magic gets lost when you play the scene too straight. Robert doesn't play the scene directly. He plays frightening and assaultive intentions, but his tactics tend to be more playful, amusing, or charming.
Who are you?
And there's actually a really good justification for him doing this. It's because the stakes in the scene are a strong contrast to each other. When you look at the scenes from Nancy, Tina, Rod, and Glenn's perspective, it's terrifying. It's life and death. They are literally going to get killed. But when you look at it from Freddy's perspective, this whole thing is a game. It's not a high-stakes situation for him because as long as the teenagers fear that Freddy is coming, he's still in control. He doesn't have that much to worry about. In fact, he keeps this tone until he realizes that maybe he's outmatched and one of the teenagers starts to fight back.
Come on, Freddy. Can't you catch me?
I'm gonna split you in two.
And it gets placed in this really great framing device at the end of the movie because when he finally gets ripped out of the dreams, Freddy loses all his power. He's all powerful while he's in your dreams and controlling what you can do in them. But once he's taken out of them, he's just a feeble little man. And what were once terrifying tactics now become these goofy slapstick antics that get him into real trouble. And what makes this great is that Englund doesn't have to alter the character a bit to achieve this effect. And that's what makes the whole movie so much better, because it means that Freddy is consistent. He's a fully developed villain, and he doesn't have to lose any aspects of his character when it comes time for him to be defeated. And then just to give one more piece of credit to him, you have to go back to the dialogue, because Robert managed to send multiple messages through the same lines. If you look at the scripted dialogue by itself, it can be mundane or kind of forgettable at times. It has some clever one-liners and subtle jabs, but it's nothing that doesn't appear in other movies like it. So why does it work so much more iconically here? Well, again, it's Englund. He makes each line drip with multiple tactics and intentions, and his ability to infuse the dialogue with both scares and quips at the same time gives him a standout performance. We literally can quote things that he said because he made them seem iconic. He took them off the page and made them better.
What?
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
So between the brilliance of playing odd tactics, his use of comedic acting techniques to create horror, and the very genius of infusing multiple meanings into his lines, both scary and silly, it's pretty clear just why the characters become such an icon. Because above all else, Englund is consistent. Yes, the tone and style of these movies has changed as the sequels have gone on, but the characters never really had to change dramatically. While there are places where it's worked less well, the best part of each and every Nightmare on Elm Street movie has been Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. And it makes them both one to watch. Thank you all for watching. Who are some of your favorite horror characters? Let me know in the comments below. And help me keep growing this channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing. If you haven't yet, check out my Patreon. It's got a lot of cool behind-the-scenes ideas for my other series. If you like broader looks at actors, check out my regular series It's Effective Follow. Or if you just want to have some laughs, check out my podcast, Welcome to the Party Pal. In all cases, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thanks again for watching, and as I always say, thanks for taking the time to get Ploominated.